Now I'm not. You can hear me now, but I can't hear you, Joe. Nope, I'm not able to hear you. Maybe you have to change your audio settings. Okay, hold on. And just check once. Yep. No, I can't hear you. I'm just trying to see. Just tell me if you can hear me now. Hello. Okay. I cannot. Okay. No. So Joey, would yeah you? Okay. So in your okay, now I should be able to hear you. No, I'm not able to hear you. I think you can see me as well, but I can't hear you. Yeah, I see you, but I can't hear you. I know, I can only hear you through the speaker, but I can't just see you. I can hear you.
You can hear me through the speaker, but there's gonna be.
Yep, yep. We're just waiting for your Chandramohan sir. Good evening. How are you? I'm not able to hear you as well, sir. Just hold on. Let me put my settings on. If I'm not able to hear anybody. Okay, let's see if I can hear you guys now. Nope. And sir, can you hear me? Chandramohan sir, are you able to hear me? I don't know. I don't hear any of you guys. Okay, hold on. Oh, now I can hear you guys. There you go. Just let me adjust the settings of the audio. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's a bit better. There we
Yep,
go.
there you
Yep, there
go.
you go.
Okay, great.
Hi, sir.
Hi,
Good
sir. Good
evening. Now
evening. Now,
we
Good. Are we working?
just,
we just,
yeah, we're
yeah, we're
waiting. That's
waiting.
Mr.
That's
Stone,
Mr.
bro.
Stone, bro.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad we worked
Yeah,
that
we
Yeah,
out.
spoke
we
we
spoke
spoke earlier
earlier
this month
this month
regarding
regarding,
uh,
uh,
you know
you know,
investments in on Gibson's Island with some of his clients, and we were talking about that. So that's that. What I would recommend, Joe, if
if
either
either
one
one
is
of us
talking,
talking to
the other
other.
can mute the mic because otherwise the voice echoes.
So I'll mute myself when you're talking.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. I'm just waiting for others to pull in. I haven't given them the access, so I'll just wait a couple of more seconds and then we start. So how I'm going to do this, Joe? I'm going to only allow selective people to log in. Chandramohan San, that's what I'm going to do. Otherwise, I'm going to record this and send this to all the listeners because if everybody pops in, it becomes difficult to mute, unmute, and uh, so I would recommend, Joe, we start in the next couple of minutes, and then I will share the live with the people because I have a lot of people popping trying to join in, and I know this issue is going to pop up of muting and unmuting again. So if they can view us, that should be fine.
And I do see a screen sharing button here. I've got a PowerPoint I'd like to share.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
okay.
So I will
I will stop
Okay,
recording.
recording.
I'm gonna mute myself again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you when I start. Okay, three, two, one, go. I'm going to record the screen. Let's start. Hi, Joe. Good evening.
Evening.
Welcome
Welcome
to the
to the
live.
live.
I'm happy to have
Happy to
you
have you
here.
here.
Hi, Amber.
Uh, Today's
Today's
subject is
subject is
pretty
pretty
clean.
clean.
It's totally on our subject where we decided that let's bring Gibsons to our listeners and viewers. Idea is pretty much simple. The real estate in Canada is popping up big, and lots of people from India would want to know, how it's moving, what's happening, where is what going. There's an international ban on people trying to buy real estate. But when we met you in Gibsons, and that's how our association began, we started to realize it's a huge potential for investment. It is rather, I would say, the future in Vancouver as far as luxury properties are concerned, or where you need a better quality of life. So, for everybody who's joining in and where we're recording this, today we're going to talk about Sunshine Coast, which is Gibson's Island. I have Mr. Joe James, who's the expert on the subject matter. He's going to take us through what the property is all about, what is Sunshine Coast, and why, if you're investing on the West Coast, Sunshine Coast is really important
Important
to get
to
in.
get in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Tom, over to you.
Over to you.
Thank you, Amber. I've got a PowerPoint put together. I've also got a small video that I did about 2 minutes within the PowerPoint. So we'll see if that works technically. Okay. But here we go. I'm gonna just share my screen and okay. Oops. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh darn. I'm sorry. How are we doing here? Can you see my screen right now?
Carnes,
No, you can't. This is very unrehearsed. So if I have to read from my PowerPoint, that would be unfortunate because I've got such nice pictures all lined up and everything. But I'll try this again. I'm going to try to share my screen. Don't show these tips again. Okay, I think. But entire screen. Here we go. Okay. Okay, it's going to be messy temporarily here. Hang on there. Can you see my screen now? Do you see my screen, Amber?
No,
I can't.
You don't. Okay. Well, let me do this again. Entire screen. This should just start to share. Oh. Okay. Lock in the bottom left corner. Oh boy. Forgive me here. I have to just unlock my settings here. Oh, I'm sorry about this. What do you want to do? Do you want me just to talk then, Amber?
No,
not
Joe,
as-
Joe, I will.
Yeah.
I have
I have
allowed
allowed
you
you
to
to
share.
share.
What do you think the best thing for me to do? I don't want to bore everybody, but I've got to go into my settings right now.
Joe,
Joe, this is what people do. Hold on.
Yeah.
I suggest that if you can take everybody through once a background of what Gibson's is, what it is all about, the property in Vancouver, just a background, and then maybe we can start talking about per se the slides and stuff, because I've allowed you to share your screen. I don't know why you're not able to do so. So in the meanwhile, we'll fix that as well.
Forgive me, but I have some back end. I've never done this before on this, so I've got some unlocking I need to do on my end into my settings, and it's given me some direction on that. Do you want to see if I can do that right now?
If
And
you can, Joe.
I would love to, and forgive me, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to. So I'm trying to share my, because this has to go through Google Chrome, so I have to unlock my Google Chrome. Just going to be selecting the lock in the bottom left corner. Bottom left corner. Google Chrome. I might have it now. Okay. How are we looking now? Can you see my screen? No, you don't.
Joe, why,
Yeah.
why don't
Why
you
don't you
share
share
this
this
file
file
and
and
I'll share
I'll
my
share
screen?
my
Okay. Sorry. What is that? What did you say, Amber?
Why don't you
Why
share
don't
the
you share the
presentation
presentation
with me?
with me?
I can
The
I
project
can
present.
it.
project it.
Can I? How do I share that with just you?
Maybe you can
Maybe you can
email it
email
to
it
me or
to
you
me
can
or
WhatsApp it to me.
WhatsApp it.
Okay. I can send it to your Gmail.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Can
Can
somebody
somebody?
Joe, can
Joe,
you
can
hear
you
me?
hear
Yes,
me?
I do hear you. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
we
see
can
you.
see you.
Probably
Probably
Amber has
Amber has
some
some
settings
settings
issue
issue
on his
on his
screen,
screen,
but
but
we can
we
see
can
you. I
see you.
can
I
see
can
you.
see you.
Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. With. I'm just emailing it. Oh boy, it's a big file though. So
Yeah, Joe,
Yeah, Joe.
maybe that's why it's
Maybe
not
that's
able
why
to
it's
show.
not really good.
forgive me here. Yeah. Okay. So maybe I should just talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah, what can I say? Okay. I'm going to just use my presentation as a guide, okay? And
Right.
I'm going to share with you what I can. I'm just
Okay,
verbally.
Okay. Do you have a sharing app,
file
If
file
sharing
I
sharing
website
website,
something
something
where you
at
can
where
this
you can
time
share?
I'm
create a
just
link?
I'm simply trying to unlock my Google Chrome settings which are not allowing me to share. It's within my it says Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. To fix it, go to System Preferences and unlock the screen by selecting Lock Google
Okay,
Chrome.
okay,
Okay.
Yeah,
How
Okay.
do
How
I
do
mean? Do you have
do
a
you have a
website
website,
something?
something?
I don't have this. I just have a PowerPoint on my desktop at this time.
Joe,
I
Okay,
Joe,
mean,
how
okay.
do we
How do we
connect to you?
connect to
Like, do
you?
you have
Like,
a
do you have a
WhatsApp later
WhatsApp
on?
later on?
I do have WhatsApp.
Okay, so
Okay. So,
can we
can we
have the
have the
phone? I mean,
phone? I
your
mean,
phone
your
number?
phone number?
Sure. 604.
One sec.
One sec.
Based in
Based in
Vancouver, right?
Vancouver, right?
Yes.
No, one
So
sec.
one sec.
Six
Six
zero
604 865
one sec.
8.
one sec. One sec.
Okay.
Six zero
Six zero
four
four
865
eight six
eight six
five
0708.
zero
zero
seven
seven
zero eight.
zero eight.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So
screen.
So
how do
how do
I
I
save this
save this
number, like
number?
your
Like your
name or
name
your
or your
company?
company?
My name Joe James. Yeah.
Okay, the
Okay. The
company name.
company name.
I'm Joe James Real Estate.
Okay, so
Okay.
you
So
deal
you
only
deal
in
only in
Vancouver?
Vancouver?
I do the Sunshine Coast in particular. Gibsons, Seashell. We're going to talk about mainly Gibsons right now.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
right.
That
Right.
was my focus.
That's it. I
That's it.
have
I
that.
have that.
But I don't want to. don't want to.
Thank you so
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. I've given up trying to fix this, Amber.
No,
No,
Joe,
Joe,
let's
let's
start
start
with
with
this.
Okay.
Because I
because I
have
have
other
other
audience
audience
as
as
well.
well.
So
So
let's
let's
start with
start
that
with
because
that
I'll
because I'll
share it
share
on
it on
my
my
LinkedIn
LinkedIn
pages,
pages,
and then
Yeah.
and then
everybody
everybody
can
can
email
email
us.
us.
Yeah,
We can
absolutely.
move ahead with that.
Okay, great. Well, here we go. I'd love to show you a map, but I've got a map behind me here. But I'll just keep it simple. Gibson's is a 40-minute ferry ride from Vancouver. We're about an 8,000 population in this area. The economy is mainly remote workers, people in the tech, financial, consulting business, etc. There's some light manufacturing here. There's healthcare. And tourism as well. We get about 50,000 people annually coming through Gibson's. There's recently been a foreign buyer ban as of January 1st, Canada-wide. The purpose of that was to allow locals to get involved, to have more options for real estate, because real estate has just gone through the roof significantly. It's been, in the COVID years especially, it was going up 20-25% a year. It's leveled out now, but prices have come down about 10% in the last year. So they haven't fully unwound at all. We are bound by mountains and ocean, and we have about 150,000 people coming every year, population-wise, to British Columbia. And that growth is expected to increase over the coming decade. And the number one driver to that, by the way, is immigration. So this foreign buyer ban, however, has been enacted by the federal government and pertains to census population areas greater than 10,000. The entire Sunshine Coast, actually, for which Gibson is the closest to Vancouver, we're on the southern end. We are not, the ban does not pertain to the Sunshine Coast, including Gibson's. So that's an opportunity. This ban is on at least for the next 2 years. So we are the only seaside community anywhere near Vancouver that is not banned from foreigners buying. So it definitely represents an opportunity. I just want to keep going through here. I do want to I'm abbreviating my presentation here, but I do want to get to some important points. How are we doing, Amber? Any questions? Anything I should...
No, you can just probably.
Okay.
I'll ask you guys.
I'll keep going. So, for a foreign person to buy in British Columbia, it requires a minimum 35% down payment, and those funds must be available in a Canadian bank account prior to the mortgage being funded. There's no foreign buyer tax for the Sunshine Coast. There was a foreign buyer tax in Vancouver, but then they banned foreign buyers anyway, so that's a moot point now. But there's never been a foreign buyer tax on the Sunshine Coast in Gibson's. I just want to get onto the one tax that is applicable. It's the property transfer tax, which everybody pays here, including foreign buyers, and that's 2% of the value of the property up to $2 million, and then 3% for every portion over $2 million. Just so you're clear on that. And of course, I really recommend everybody consult a professional accountant when the time comes. We can talk about that, of course. So I've got these beautiful pictures. We've got beaches, we've got ocean, we've got mountains. We're known for the natural beauty, rainforest. It's a very clean, healthy place to live. I mean, I raised my family here. I've been here 15 years. We've got... it's a beautiful place to live and work and invest. And to work from here, you can work remotely. You can hop on the ferry and be in the city of Vancouver in less than an hour. And that's I think we're very lucky. The nearest seaside town would be White Rock, and the entry level there it's a $3 million entry level. We've got properties from 1 million and up here. I mean, we're talking ocean view as well. So we're still underpriced, relative to everything around us. Vancouver Island is another hour and 40-minute ferry ride. And even then, it's the foreign buyer ban pertains to most of Vancouver Island. They're just small chunks that you can do. So that's Gibson's in a nutshell. Again, look forward to getting those pictures and my PowerPoint. But why don't we keep it brief there, Amber, and well, open up to questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
A couple of
things that anybody would ask is that why invest, right? You said the property is beautiful, it's right 40 minutes right from Vancouver. Now let's say if there's a potential investor or a buyer coming in from India, right? I mean, Dubai is a favorable destination, but again, you said there's no foreign buyers tax in Gibson's, and so if somebody has to invest, let's say if I am looking for a 2 million, 1 million, 5 million, 700,000 investment, what would be the right way to go on Gibson's? Number one, do they have to incorporate a company or they can apply directly through a realtor? What would be the way or the way a foreign buyer can invest and buy the property?
You can invest as an individual. You can invest as a company. It really is, it's open. Residential real estate is open to individuals or companies investing. The thing about, and this is just a bit of a detail, but if you were to invest in a company name, which I'm understanding a lot of people would, when it comes to selling the property down the road, the goods and services tax would apply, which is a 5% national tax. The buyer would have to pay that. Just be mindful of that if you purchase as a company. So you'd have to factor that in. But of course, in the overall scheme of things, that could investing as a company would obviously be a beneficial way to go above and beyond that. And you can price that in as well, right? Look at it and say, hey, GST is included in the price, and factor your pricing accordingly, right?
Now,
Joe, the second thing.
let's say, uh, we have, let's say, a potential individual who wants to buy. What is the price rise and the growth one is looking at in terms of, rentals and appreciation of property that you have seen in past? Let's say, let's compare it between last 15 years coming back to now, the couple of 3-4 years that you've seen on Gibson's.
Okay, the last 3 to 4 years, the Sunshine Coast really woke up. 2015 was the year. It was nobody knew we were here. It was amazing. And then 2015 suddenly, boom, we're 10%, 10% appreciation, and it's been steady since. The COVID years were, I almost want to say, hey, that was an outlier. That was crazy. That was 20%, and it's now calmed down now, and it is. We're in a repositioning. Things are readjusting right now. We're down. We're down about 10 to 15% from our peak values of last year, which were crazy, non-sustainable appreciation, in my humble opinion. So we're in a bit of a. I mean, I've got charts on this presentation, but we're like this, and now we're down a bit. Okay, that's the best I can do right now. But supply is low, so properties are selling. It's just that people have adjusted their prices generally downward about 15% from that 20% 2 years in a row. By the way, 20% 2 years in a row, it's come down. So it's certainly it's the prices are still above pre-pandemic levels. They're just not at the peak anymore. Yeah. So rents as well. Rents have really held their ground. Rents have gone up about 40% since the beginning of the pandemic. And that's stayed pretty solid because a lot of people now, they can't afford to buy, so they're renting. So the demand for rentals continue to be high. Can I say one thing? One segment of the real estate market that has not softened much is waterfront. The waterfront properties. It's a finite resource. I do have a map behind me here. I'll kind of point it here. This is the Sunshine Coast. Waterfront. It's holding its ground. minimum waterfront entry level is pretty much about, it's now close to 2 million just to get in and get something on the water. That used to be a couple years ago, that was 1.5, you know. That's been recognized as a solid, it's the supply, right? It's a limited, very limited supply of being on the water, being able to take your boat right to your property. Some properties don't have boat access, so but just enjoying having a dock, being able to swim right off your off your front door. That's a premium that is looking pretty solid waterfront.
Also,
Also,
Joe,
Joe,
now I want to understand, like, I mean, in terms of rental, let's say if somebody invests, and that's what people ask, that, why not Vancouver, where you'll get a fixed uh, income every month if you put the property on rental, let's say in a downtown. Has there been a situation like this where it's 100% occupied? You don't have to face the empty house issue on Gibson's. And let's say if somebody invests up to 1 million, what's the kind of return they can expect on their property?
Okay, yeah, that's good. We have a very, very low vacancy rate here on the Sunshine Coast. People still want to live here. It's very tight. I've got colleagues in the rental. I do sales, but I'm very close to my colleagues in the rental, and the vacancy rate is probably around 1%. It's tight. However, if you're going to pay $1 million for a home, depending on how large, but there is an upper limit to what people will pay for rent. There's going to be, it's hard to push it past about $3,000 per month rental income. Then you've got your property taxes to pay, which on $1 million property might be about, in the Sunshine Coast Regional District, I just want to comfortably say around $4,000 per year, and insurance. So hopefully those numbers are somewhat helpful. But you're looking at around $2,500 to $3,200 per month expected rent for a nice home. If you're paying $1 million, you're going to get a fairly nice home here. It's going to be pretty nice. There's still entry level homes here for $750,000. It's kind of the entry level for a home here on the coast that's off the water, away from the water, but decent. And we're talking about detached. I'm not talking about condominium, okay? I'm not talking about apartments. I'm happy to talk about that, but I just wanted to keep it simple. Yeah.
go ahead with the apartment.
Okay, condo. Well, they've just, as part of this whole movement to try to increase the supply of housing for people in BC, they've just in British Columbia, different strata communities, different condo communities, used to have rental restrictions within their condos. Say there's 42 units within this condo community, say like something called Island View Lanes, a little community that I've just recently sold a couple of units in. But the BC government has overridden those just as of January 1st. Everybody can rent their condos now. So that has changed the landscape for who's buying condos. You can now rent a condo. No condo board of directors is going to tell you that you can't do that now. So that has definitely changed the landscape, and still very tight demand and supply. So that is a viable option for investment. You've got your strata fees you need to add on to it, but you're looking at a lower entry point. You're looking at, you could probably get a nice condo in Gibson's for the mid 600s. For a nice 2 or 3 bedroom condo, your rental for that would definitely be about $2,200. These are just numbers I'm throwing out. They're pretty close, but $2,200 up to easily $2,500 a month for these nice ones. These ones I just sold. For example, I've got a sale happening today, probably. It's probably going to happen. I'm just jumping the gun telling you the numbers on this. But technically, I'm supposed to keep this quiet. But anyway, I did sell another one for $685,000. It was a 2-bedroom with an optional area that could be a 3rd bedroom. 2 full bath plus a half bath. Really nice. granite countertops, wood floors, really beautiful. Little small ocean view, built in 2009, solid construction, 685,000. You could pretty well easily get 2,500 a month rent for that. The condo fees per month are about 350 on that, and that pays for all future maintenance on that property. That's what the condo fees are all about. They're strata fees. Maybe you have that in India as well. I'm not sure, but it's all very financially pre. They mind their future repairs that are required. They've got it all scheduled, and as part of that, everybody pays into that future maintenance. And so you do have that, and you've got the same tax on that would be about, I want to say, I would just comfortably say about 4,000 a year taxes on a condominium unit like that. And these two are, by the way, I'm talking about townhomes. These are townhouses with little yard. They're 3 levels. These are just an example, yeah. So that I'm glad you did bring that up, because it is a new. It wasn't considered a good investment because of the rental restrictions, but now those are gone, and that was legislated by the British Columbia provincial government. So, yeah.
Joe, I want to ask other things, very small ones, like Mr. Chandramohan's posted a question in the chat box, which is like, what are the amenities around the coast? Like, let's say if somebody says, I want to buy a $5 million home, and just an example, and let's say if somebody wants to buy empty land, what are the amenities now in Gibson's? Because when I came, I saw a lot of things, but I think you're the best judge to tell us what would be those.
You're talking about the things to do. Okay, that's where we lag a big city. Okay, we don't have amusement parks. We don't have big box stores. We don't have water slide parks. But we've got Vancouver. We just go to Vancouver for the day for anything big like that. But getting back to Gibson's, go ahead.
Infrastructure.
What I was saying is physical infrastructure, let's say in terms of hospitals, colleges, eateries, markets, healthcare is there, just about schooling, and then your transportation, your local transportation network, SOS, so many things.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. We're all good with all the basic infrastructure. We've got excellent schools, primary and secondary schools. We do have a university that's based in Vancouver. They've got a satellite here in Sechelt, which I haven't talked about, but that's the northern town from Gibson's. And this is the best audio or best visual I can give you. This is Gibson's, and I'm moving up here to Sechelt here. This is where the Capilano College satellite is. That's also where the hospital is. The main hospital is in Sechelt, which is about a 22-minute drive from Gibson's north. So it's fully funded. That's where all the children are born there. Anyone with any serious issues are taken by ambulance to Sechelt Hospital. We have full infrastructure, water, municipal water supply is super clean. They're getting better at, we're bringing more water sources online on the Sunshine Coast. Because our population has grown, it's taxed the water supply, but we have a lot of water up in these mountains. It's a lot of water. It's all about holding the water for the dry months of the summer. And that's what they're getting better at now. They just brought a new groundwater well field online. It actually hasn't been on, it's apparently going online tomorrow. That's going to help us a lot. And that's, so you asked about other things, infrastructure. Again, SOS, call 911, bang, you've got an ambulance at your door in, 10 minutes. Fire, there's fire halls. It's a very civilized place. I was really talking more like the extras, like the big deal things people want to do. They want to go out to the theater. We have theaters here. They're just not going to necessarily bring the big Bollywood stars, and you got to go to Vancouver for that, which is great. We do it. We do it.
A couple of
Couple
more
of more questions.
How safe is the place? Number one. Secondly, if somebody buys an individual house, or by individual house, I mean is an independent row house, let's say, or a standing house with some land, let's say an acre of land, or let's say half an acre of land, are they allowed to construct a small rental home in case if they're staying there?
Excellent question. That's great. Generally, the zoning on the Sunshine Coast, I'm talking about Gibson's, I'm going all the way up, like all the way up here, which we didn't talk about either. That's the Pender Harbor area, more rural, more boating. There's more, you can barely see through this. I don't want to move my computer to my screen here, but there's more of a harbor area. It's called Pender Harbor. Anyway, that from south tip to north, generally you need a half acre size property, and you can build an auxiliary dwelling up to approximately 1,000 square feet. So yes, you can do that. My home, I'm on a quarter acre, so I can't do that. However, I could build a suite within my home. I could just have a separate entrance and a separate dwelling within the structure of my home. I'm allowed to do that. But I really do like the half acre properties and greater for that purpose. It's nice to have a standalone building. I mean, I happen to be right now in my home. I built this dwelling. It's technically not a dwelling. It's an office in my backyard. It's a separate building, but to be within the bylaws and to be within the municipal regulations, it doesn't have a bathroom and it doesn't have cooking facilities. So, but it's beautiful. I use everything in the house there. But you're allowed to build structures, but for a full dwelling, the half acre threshold is what you want to have.
Right, Joe.
Right,
Now,
Joe.
the
Now the
next question I see from sir is, do we need to buy or rent a boat for local travel apart from the roads? How much does it cost to own a boat or to travel from Gibson's? Now, you will be the best person to answer this.
You know, the best travel is from Langdale Ferry service. Yes, you could own a boat. People do it. They would keep it in Gibson's Harbor. Oh boy, my backwards finger here. There's Gibson's. And there's a harbor there that would go. It would take more than the 40-minute ride. Depends what kind of boat you've got. You could take a private boat into Cole Harbor, Vancouver. You're right in downtown. Yes, some people do that. Absolutely do it. But the majority of us, we just bring our car. We drive our car onto the ferry, and it fits a couple hundred cars and several hundred passengers, and we get on the ferry, which is every 2 hours. And then there's an hourly window in the late afternoon. That's how the ferries generally run. So I guess that is one thing that people have to be ready for. We just plan our lives around it. People who live on the Sunshine Coast plan our lives around the ferry. You have to plan ahead. You can reserve the ferry if you want. That's a good idea. Now, in the summer, starting tomorrow, interestingly, the ferry service becomes hourly, every hour, which helps a lot because that's when the tourists start to come in. It's a lot more people. We need that. So, and then after September, bang, we're back to every 2 hours. And then, except for the 4 o'clock and the 5 o'clock is every hour. And you plan accordingly. Most people, I see a lot of really fine cars on the ferry. I mean, the higher end folks, they tend to take the ferry as well. It's convenient. You've got your car, you just drive right off and off you go into Vancouver, right? That tends to be the way to go.
Yep.
And Joe,
When we use the ferry, I found it to be very, very convenient in terms of costing. It's cheap to travel by a ferry, and I'm sure boats are also used because people do keep recreational travel to themselves. Now, Joe, if I ask about, we spoke about rental, but I want to ask about, let's say, the pricing when it comes to an Airbnb. Now, rentals are regulated by contracts, whereas Airbnbs could be anything you can demand of. So, as a pattern, if you can tell us, let's say, if I buy a one bedroom, to be very honest, and I'm sure the location of the Airbnb does matter in the costings, but on an average, I believe an Airbnb goes pretty high in Gibson's. And is it throughout the year or does it only happen during summers?
Well, my wife's parents live here on the coast as well. They've created an Airbnb on their property. They charge, it's a one bedroom. It's not even a bedroom. It's actually a big studio with a little kitchen downstairs. For example, this is just an example. This is Gibson's. They charge about $180 a night. And then in the summer, they're going to bump it up to about $225 a night. I mean, this is just one example. I've got some clients who bought a little house. I keep pointing, but it's anyway. It's in Gibson's. They've been charging about $250 a night. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It's gorgeous. They've really done it up nicely. $250 a night. They had bookings throughout the year, but the booking amount would be closer to $200 for them for that. Now they're at $250 and they're very happy. I just talked to them actually. They're very happy. They're booked through the summer. Those are just two examples I want to give. Amber, I think I showed you a waterfront space as well, a big house where they rent out the whole house downtown Gibson's. Gosh, what was the amount per night? It was forgive me, I forget. It was $1,000 a night, I think, or $2,000 a night. Anyway, so
3,000.
the sky is the limit, really. I mean, it depends. However, I do want to talk, and I always want to show all sides to everything. Okay, I don't want to just sell this and everything's all peachy and rosy. They've again, as part of trying to free up more inventory for residents to live, because this has been an issue throughout BC and through British Columbia and the Sunshine Coast. The municipal governments have gotten together and tried to find ways to limit Airbnb so that they could perhaps dissuade owners from renting out their secondary suites or renting out their houses and rent them to long-term people in the workforce. For example, nurses, firefighters, police officers, everybody needs a place to live. And it's amazing how a lot of these people are having a hard time finding a place to live. So they've restricted, and this is fairly new, and I want to give you this current information. They've really gotten restrictive on the way you can rent out a property for Airbnb, short-term rentals, they call it, is where, generally speaking, someone has to be living on the property in another dwelling who can then manage the dwelling that's being rented for short-term rental. So that would be either in a suite in the house, that would apply, or in a separate dwelling on the property. You have your manager, tenant, like you'd want to have a tenant whose part of the deal would be they would also manage the short-term rental portion, be that the tenant lives in the big house and takes care of the smaller dwelling, or more likely they live in the smaller dwelling and they are the manager of the big house, or the suite. They live in the house and they manage the suite, or they live in the suite and they manage the house short-term rental. So very important, because that has finally come into play. They've been talking about that for years, because a lot of people benefit from that. So there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of debate, but ultimately the local voice for housing kind of won the day on that. But at least there's that compromise. They didn't shut down Airbnbs, but they do stipulate that someone live on the property.
Joe,
The other question
is safety. Let's say you've seen what's happening in Vancouver, what's happening around downtown, what's happening further down. And mostly when people invest in British Columbia, the reason was primarily it's safe for kids, for elderly, for everybody. But, you can't predict neighborhoods, but you always can predict what's happening and how it is. Is Gibson's that safe, I would say, for a certain limit of people?
Again, well, here I go. Like, it's so safe. It's so safe. I think what really helps us here, and I'm going to refer to my visual here again. We've got a ferry here, and then we've got a ferry, which we haven't talked about, but there's another ferry at the top, which takes you up to Powell River. So any criminals are going to be stuck. Like, good luck. Like, you're stuck. What are you going to do? Like, there's a net which would find them. The police just have to set up Anyway, it doesn't even go that far. There's really nothing. The biggest crime issue would be there is some drug addiction everywhere. And that might be a little bit of breaking into businesses in Seashell that has been happening over the past couple of years, unfortunately. I'm just anecdotally, we still don't lock our doors in our neighborhood here. We don't even lock our doors. I mean, what can I say? We're knock on wood. I hope that remains forever. There there are people. Yeah, it's really the addictions which will bring crime, and it's going to be petty crime. It's going to be theft so that they can satisfy their addiction. We're really safe. I mean, I'm sure I could drag up some statistics for that, but just anecdotally, wow, we feel very safe here. My children are young, and I don't feel I feel that they can go out on the street, they can ride their bikes wherever they want. I don't worry about them. We don't worry about them.
Lastly, Joe, before we close, because I have the whole thing recorded now to broadcast, because I had a lot of people wanting to get in, like that gentleman who just popped in and did his own thing and quit. I just wanted everybody to be on the same page. So, last thing that I want to ask here is, let's say if somebody has an alternative going between North Vancouver, and this is again, I'm going to boil down to some legalities. Somebody wanting to buy something in North Vancouver, Vancouver downtown, Surrey, Richmond, let's say Greater Vancouver, and somebody wanting to invest in Gibsons, what is it in 5 years that Gibsons can offer them, or let's say over 7 years, Gibsons can offer them in terms of increments, in terms of gains, via somebody wanting to put this kind of money in North Vancouver, where they say, it's going to explode, it's exploding, and other areas. Just forget North Vancouver. I'm talking about Greater Vancouver in general. There's Coquitlam, there's Burnaby coming up. There's Surrey's again, a huge Indian hub, Asian hub, as I would use the term. But there's always this thing that the coastal areas like Squamish went out of the roof, and Whistler's just unachievable. With someone wanting to put their bucks in on Sunshine Coast, and particularly Gibsons, what is it, if it's the investment is for, to say, a return on investment, they want to calculate what could be it that you can predict in future?
I could here's and like in terms of the median sale price on the Sunshine Coast in Gibsons anyway is still around $1 million. The median price in North Vancouver is around $2 million. The median price in West Vancouver is around $3 million. So we are just. I still feel we're on. Sorry, the sun is coming out here, but anyway, I hope that doesn't. Anyway, it's entry. It's still achievable to get in at a low entry point. In terms of returns, they're going to continue to build the infrastructure here. They're going to increase the number of ferries coming here. We're going to become closer and closer to Vancouver. That is the one barrier that keeps us, I guess, further away right now, is the 2-hour ferry schedule. But the BC Ferries has in their long-term plan to increase the ferry schedule to hourly on the Sunshine, going to the Sunshine Coast in the next 5 years. They have to do seismic upgrades to the Horseshoe Bay terminal, which is the Vancouver terminal, and that's about 5 years away, and that's going to allow them to build additional berths for more boats. So then they can start bringing more people to and from the Sunshine Coast. The traffic will be flowing more regularly. I don't want to, I could just say comfortably, I'm just crystal ball, 8% returns per year is very reasonable in real estate, to 10%, 8 to 10%. I just think we have not been discovered yet, and when we increase the flow of traffic to the Sunshine Coast, that will definitely pick up. Will definitely be kind of like a branch of West Vancouver. It will be part of West Vancouver practically, and that's where the median price range is $3 million, and and we're $1 million. So, and 40-minute ferry ride, not bad. It's a scenic, gorgeous ferry ride too. So, I don't mind it. We read our books, we run around, we eat on the ferry. There's a cafeteria, like a restaurant, So hopefully that helps answer that.
Before we close, Joe, so last question, and rather last, somebody wanting to invest procedurally with paperwork and with, let's say wanting to invest, let's say somebody pops up tomorrow and says, hey, I want to put down a 2 million down payment or whatever, like initially in this. what would be the way to go if they come to you. I think that you could be, or we could be, a one-stop solution services if somebody wants to invest money there. But what are usually the procedural hiccups? Let's say a foreign buyer wanting to do this, forgetting a permanent resident or a person on a work permit. But I'm talking about somebody sitting in India, Mumbai, wanting to buy property directly on Gibson's from here. What would be the way to go?
Okay. Well, I work with lawyers and notaries who help the sale go through. They do all the nitty gritty paperwork. In this case, I would say definitely I would put them in touch right away, even before the purchase happens. Like while the search is on, with there's a couple really good reputable law firms here who I would definitely work with, real estate lawyers who know it back and forth, up and down, and that way you're ahead of the game. And they would work with an accountant as well. Generally, they have a partnership with accountants who can then help get it all properly flowing on the Canadian side, get the Canadian bank account established, the funds in there. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I work more on I love the side I get to work on is the property side and the search and the your needs and what you're really looking for and matching people up. But then the people on the back end, they're all here. Again, a real estate lawyer and an accountant. So that's pretty well it. That's the team.
Let's
Let's
say,
say,
I mean, housing loans is another thing. Let's say, usually I believe the way to go is that you've got to set up a Canadian bank account. You've got to have at least an XYZ amount parked into that account. And then once that is there, there's a mortgage you need to apply for in case you want. So if loans are also there, can you also assist our clients specifically with the same?
I forgot that part of the team. Yeah, the mortgage broker. Absolutely. Yeah. So for this, there'll be four of us really on the team. I work with many different mortgage brokers. They can help you. I think actually in this case they do prefer that a foreign buyer work directly with a Canadian bank to get their mortgage, which is very normal. Just a broker per se is somebody who can work with all these private lenders and everybody. But in the case, I'm glad you asked that actually. It is important to work with a bank. And there's established institutions, RBC, Scotia, Canada Trust. There's quite a few, and they compete together, so they'll compete for your business, and that'll be the way to go. And I can certainly help you with that, but I don't do. See, a mortgage broker can still work on your behalf and help you with the finding the best rate among the banks. That would be the palette of financing that you'd be restricted to as a foreign buyer would be the banks. But again, that's very normal. For most people, do end up borrowing from a bank here anyway, rather than a private lender, for example. Yeah, so that's the final piece.
Sorry, Joe.
sorry, Joe.
There you go.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
this is the bit I wanted to have on my side, and I think interest rates and loans, etc. They can be discussed further on down below. But thank you so much for being here, and it was lovely chatting with you. And I think this will be good with our viewers when I put it out.
Thanks very much, Amber. Really appreciate it. And let me know anything you need.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, Joe. Bye bye.
Okay, bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.